Morning, everyone, and welcome to today's East Hampton Village Board meeting. Today is November 4th, 2021. If we could all stand for the pledge. Kenny?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Perfect. Thank you very much, Kenny. So before we get going, I just have a couple of announcements. We had a terrific Halloween festival in Herrick Park. We had terrific weather. It was on Sunday, and it was just a great time. And I just want to thank everybody who participated and everybody who put that event together. I'm just going to ask Chief Terza from the Fire Department to speak about the upcoming parade that he's putting together for me.
Good morning, Mr. Mayor, members of the board. So on November 13th, we're going to try the first ever parade in East Hampton to honor our veterans, the men and women from the community that have served this great country. The veterans groups are from East Hampton and Sag Harbor. All four posts are very enthusiastic about participating. We put the word out to the community. We really want to line the streets for these men and women. Got a very good, very special guest speaker who's going to address the group once it ends at the Hook Mill group. We hope to have a pretty good turnout. It's the first time we've ever attempted anything like this, and hopefully it'll set the trend for the future. We'd like to invite any veterans that are not affiliated with either the American Legion or the VFW in both communities to participate. We'd like to ask everyone to muster down by the Presbyterian Church at about 10:30, 10:40 on Saturday, November 13th, as we're going to be stepping off at 11 a.m. sharp. So it should be a very good day, very interesting day, and we'll see how things go moving forward.
Terrific. Thanks, Chief. I just want to invite the public to come out and support our veterans, and so we can show them that we appreciate all of their service that they've given us and given our country. So we hope everyone can come out that day and help celebrate our veterans. Next, I'd just like to say congratulations to the town board. They had their election the other night, and congratulations to the winners. And that was a fun night, and I'm glad everything worked out. So we are, just let the public know, we sent out at the end of September, I believe it was, early October, we sent out a survey to our residents asking for their input about the airport and asking for their input about short-term rentals. We have received quite a few responses, and we'll announce the results on our next board meeting on 11/19. And I think it's important that we hear from all our village residents to see what direction they would like the village to go with respect to those two issues, big issues, and we'd like to know what direction the board should take with reference to those issues representing the village residents. So we'll have those results on 11/19. All right, so now we're going to jump into our presentations. Hugh King could not make it today, so we don't have Hugh. We're going to start off with Amanda and Susan Seecamp, who ran the Beach Hut on Main this summer, very successfully, I might add. But we asked them to come on and give us an end of year report. Good morning.
Good morning.
Thanks for coming on.
Thanks for having us.
So feel free, it's all yours.
Okay, we had a great summer. Next year, we'd like to do more of a breakfast there. Not many people knew about our breakfast that we had. The weather wasn't the greatest, but it was a very successful year for us. And one thing we'd like to do next year is maybe offer beer and wine, if that would be all right with the village.
Okay. My only limitation on it would be after lifeguard hours, but I don't know what you're thinking, Susan, as far as times.
I was kind of thinking even earlier. I mean, I'm not looking to have a bar scene there. I'm 60. I want to, have it just very small. Someone comes up, they want to have a lobster roll and a glass of wine. That's it. You know, I'm not looking for someone to sit there and have 4 glasses of wine. Or
Okay.
even do it after 5 and do a little happy hour thing is fine. But nothing late. You know, I don't want a late night
Right.
scene, just something simple.
Yeah,
We would prefer the hours probably, Jerry, from like 12 to 5 or 12 to 6, just so that way people can be there kind of during the day.
Right.
And have their drinks then instead of being there, you know, having a first drink at 6 and then lingering there and staying at the beach for quite some hours after, you know, those first.
Right. Well, on the beach itself, we already have a law that doesn't allow any alcohol on the beach during lifeguard hours. So would it be something we could confine to the deck? Do you see it?
I don't know how that would, I mean, you'd have to have someone out there watching to make sure they don't carry it down to the beach.
Yeah, no, I get that. What I'm trying to get at is I know several years back, East Hampton Town had a big issue at, I think it was Indian Wells,
Correct.
where groups and groups of people were bringing alcohol onto the beach. So I would like to try to avoid any type of situation like that. So if we could have a rule that if we did allow it from 12 to your closing, then, you know, maybe we confine it to the deck. If they wanted to have a glass of wine with their food, they'd have to sit on the deck.
Right.
That's the only way I can think it would work. Anybody else have any input?
I just had a question. When Susan, when one serves alcohol, is there a requirement where you need the server to be a certain age?
Yes.
Or do they have to take any, I've heard that maybe they have to take some type of online course to recognize any problems, or can you explain to me the precautions and the procedure that you intend to have in place for, pulling this off?
Well, I'm not positive of everything, but I think you just have to be 18 years old to serve. And I would just have a designated person that would be the server, because I do have a lot of younger kids that work there. They would not be allowed to serve anyone alcohol. So there would be a designated area that an 18-year-old or older would be there to serve.
Okay.
I also had a question. Would it be glass bottles? Will it just give plastic, or it would
All
be
plastic or cans?
Exactly. That's my only worry, that we don't want glass running around.
Yeah, I know they make nice wines in cans now and beer in cans.
True, that's true.
Yeah, I think that as someone who loves to have a beer with lunch, I think that it would be a hit with me. But I think Jerry's point about keeping it on the deck, I think, is very important. And people are gonna, say, "Oh yeah, I'll stay on the deck," and then walk right down to the beach. So how we can enforce that, or help you enforce that, or whatever, I do not know.
Right.
But I think in general, I am supportive.
I'd also like to make let everyone know that at Cooper's Beach in Southampton Village, they do serve beer and wine. And correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't believe they have any type of restrictions. But Susan, do you know exactly what they do at Cooper's? I know that they serve beer and wine. I don't know if they have restrictions because I don't go there.
Told that they do sell beer and wine all day long, and they've never really had a problem with it whatsoever. And I know up at Main Beach, the clientele there is a mature clientele. They're not, young kids coming up getting, smashed on the beach. You don't see any of that.
Yeah, that's true. That's very true.
It's an older clientele, sophisticated.
Maybe-
I just wanted to add that, I just want to thank the Sea Camps. I think it was a great summer, and I heard a lot of positive feedback about the food and so forth. So thank you. As you know, am a fan of the acai bowls. And I agree with what's been said, that the only hurdle I think for us will be, if we're restricting it on the beach, to then, have it open or allowed on the deck, just to make sure that it stays up on the pavilion. So I think that could be something that we could figure out, but I see that as the issue here. We might want to start it, as Jerry said, just during business hours or after business hours, as far as lifeguarding hours, only after 5 in the beginning, and then, see if that's successful and then go from there. But I'm open to it either way.
All right, great. Hey, Chief Tracy, are you on?
Yes, sir.
What do you think?
Originally, I was going to suggest that you do off-premise consumption license and restrict it to after lifeguard hours. I don't think you're going to be able to keep it in any one area once you let the cat out of the bag. Right now, we don't enforce alcohol on the beach after hours with the events that take place up there, which are getting very populated. And I thought maybe there would be an application to go this route, but I think it would be very, I don't think it would go well during the day. And I don't think you'd be able to keep it on the deck. But I think if you go with small steps and you allow the off-premise license to go through, that would be in keeping with kind of what we've done over the past summer. And considering that the beach itself would be off-premise. And because once you go with the deck, then you're going to get into the parking lot. You're going to get repeat attempts to, I think, license on premise. And I think that would not be, I just don't think it would go right now. I think an easier way to do it would be to go with baby steps, off-premise consumption after lifeguard hours, and see how that goes. I think that's a safer way to go. From enforcement purposes, keeping it on the deck would just be, I don't know that we could do it. Or I don't know that we could do it correctly.
Okay, thanks. I was thinking that too, but going back to Susan's statement about, the clientele is what it is, and I don't know, I'm not opposed to it. I just think if we confined it to the deck, even if Susan had to police it with one of her people, there's only a couple of ways to get back onto the beach. You could just remind people that they couldn't take the alcohol onto the beach.
I have a question. I don't know who can answer this, but in theory, the village owns the deck. They own the parking lot. They don't own the beach. Wouldn't it be easier to let people drink on the beach and not on the deck? Get them off of village property? The other question that I had would be, and I agree with Trustee Graham, having a drink at 12 or 1 or 2, I don't know if that's the worst, I don't know. The Chowder Bowl over the past summer really wasn't all that busy past 5 o'clock. And I hope it gets busier, Susan. I love your food for dinner. But the concerts, I think, were a great hit, and that would definitely work. However, when you go to the beach now, just like any resort community, there's plenty of people with coolers on the beach. And I don't believe it's a problem. I also don't believe it's policed very much. So, again, that might be a question for Chief Tracy, because again, he's at the beach a lot and he knows what I'm talking about, where there's a very large amount of people that go to the beach with the cooler every day. And that's part of some people's tradition of going to the beach on the weekend. So I'm My thoughts are I could go a lot of different ways on this, but I'm not opposed to it at all. And I'm not opposed to starting earlier than 6 o'clock, because I just don't know how much that would help the sea camps.
Got it.
Is it
Okay.
possible that you could maybe try the earlier, and if it doesn't, work out, then we just say, okay, it's after 5? Just give it a try.
I think we can try anything. The only thing is that if we start talking about doing anything on the beach, I think we need to involve the town trustees, because it is their beach, even though we manage it for them.
Yeah, I feel strongly that we should not, it should be confined to the deck. I think that's, so if we went earlier, it would just have to be confined to the deck. And if it became an enforcement issue, we would have to deal with it as we go. So how long does it take you to get a license, Susan? Is it something that you can?
I've been told different stories. I've been told it takes several months, and then I've told it could take 2 weeks.
Okay. So I think the board is all in agreement that we would allow it in some fashion. So why don't you just move forward with getting the license?
Okay.
And then, we'll come up with a final answer as far as, the times and the locations, I guess, would be the easiest. Let everybody think about it a little bit, and then we can circle back on this. But I think everybody in concept is okay. So I would just move forward with a license, and then we'll figure it out from there.
Okay.
Does that make sense, or?
Yeah, I think it makes sense, Mayor. I think we also need to get a little input from the public about this, which I frankly assume would be quite positive.
Could we also maybe, Marcos, could you check in with Southampton Village and maybe Chief Tracy with their police chief, and maybe pick their brain about what they're doing at Cooper's Beach, and maybe we can learn something from them?
Sure.
Yeah, if we were to ask them, if you were starting this again, what would you do differently than you're doing now? That might be a helpful
If
question.
they would do anything at all. Yeah, absolutely.
Find out what they do. I mean, do they have restrictions? Do they, what do they serve? Just get a good idea of how that works in Southampton Village.
Okay, that's perfect. And then to Tiger's point, this would be a change in our law, so it would have to go to a public hearing anyway.
And I want you to know that I am particularly partial to the Montauk Wave Chaser IPA.
Noted. We'll have it in stock for you.
All right, well, thanks for coming on. So why don't we, Marcus, why don't we put this back on for the work session when we do a work session in January? This way it'll give everybody a little time to think about it, and then January we can come back on, finalize what we want to do, and then send it to a public hearing. So we would be all set by opening day. Is that good?
Yep, that sounds great. I've got one edit. If we could just move up Mr. Dwayne Medeiros of RACAP, because I think he's got to.
Oh, that's fine. Thank you, Susan and Amanda.
Oh,
Thank you for coming on.
and thank you for all the support.
Oh,
Thanks so much.
no. You guys do a great job, and we're really happy to help you in any way we can. So,
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, everyone. Have a great day.
Have a great
So-
day. Okay.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
all right, Marcos, could you do the introduction?
Sure. This is Dwayne Medeiros of RACAP, and I think we're here to talk about the. Or Dwayne, why don't you just get right into it? Because I don't want to cut your time
Yeah,
off.
sure. So RACAP is a telecommunications company, and one of my longtime friends, Lucas Cowart, lives in your town, and he connected me with Marcos and Sandra, and kind of worked on a few designs for small cell poles, as I've heard that the cell coverage is not very good in the town that you're in. So basically what RACAP does, we're a privately held company that's based out of Greece, but we have headquarters in Post Falls, Idaho, Kearney, New Jersey, and in Charleston, South Carolina. So we basically build small cell poles. We also provide surge protection and lightning protection for cell towers. We're doing a ton of work with the city of New York, providing small cell poles throughout the city, working with the Do It organization and DOT. So basically what Marcos and Sandra and I have worked on is just, there's a parking lot, and we've actually come up with a couple of concepts that could be proposed to AT&T and Verizon or T-Mobile to house their 4G and 5G radios if the board and the town so desire to go that route. So basically, I just wanted to jump on, and Marcos and I spoke yesterday, and I have a short presentation just with some concept drawings of what the poles would look like, and then I have some photo simulations of what the poles would actually look like in the parking lot that was proposed. So I'll share my screen, and then if you guys have any questions at any time, feel free to ask, and I will try to answer. And I also have our local sales rep, Gordon Nelson, who's on the line as well.
Hello.
Can you all see the presentation?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. So just the benefits of a small cell pole, unlike a macro cell phone tower, it's basically placed in a parking lot or on the side of a street, and you can have a 4G antenna on there, and it's much better propagation because it's closer to your town and to your patrons of the town. And here you could see, this is a proposed pole that, I mean, it's really just a concept design that we came up with for the parking lot as discussed. And you can see this is, up top would be the 4G canister antenna. And then these three, there would be 3 5G radios here, and they would be enclosed in this radome. And this radome is made out of a material where 5G can actually propagate through it with no issues. And then in the base, the 4G radio would be in the base along with a meter if that was required. And then the power and fiber and coax jumpers would go all the way up to the radios and the 4G antenna at the top. This is basically the same pole, just with a 4G only design. Some towns aren't exactly excited about 5G, so we do both designs, and there's really no issue with 4G only. It's just some towns also want 5G and 4G in the same topper as well. So basically the same thing, just with the radios at the base and then the antenna at the top. And then this is a 5G only pole. As you can do it in one of 2 ways, 4G, 5G, or 3 ways, I'm sorry. 4G, 5G, 4G only, and 5G only. And then this was a parking lot. And Marcos, I don't know if you want to, I don't know where this parking lot is, but you can see on the left-hand side, it would be the original pole that's there now. And then on the right-hand side, you can see our pole design with the base and the 4G, 5G solution at the top of the pole. Actually, I'm sorry, that was the 4G only, that's the 4G, 5G, and then that would be the 5G only. And then this is a different location in the parking lot. Same thing, 4G, 4G, 5G, and then 5G only. So I know when Marcos and I spoke, it's really, I mean, trying to see if there's any desire to go this route. We can assist in trying to get, if you guys decide, we can assist in trying to get you guys in touch with the Verizon folks, or there are also neutral hosts like Crown Castle and Extenet, which they would typically put 2 carriers there. So it could be Verizon and AT&T, or Verizon and T-Mobile. Any questions?
Yeah, I have a question. So the cell service, at least in the village, seems to work pretty good in the off season, like now. But when we get the crowds in the summertime, it's almost impossible to use your cell phone. Sometimes you'll dial a number and it'll just sit there, and then finally it'll connect. It might take you 30 seconds sometimes to connect. Okay. So my question is this a capacity issue of the big tower, or is it just a, for some reason it's not, like, what causes that problem? And do these antennas?
Very well, yeah, it could very well be a capacity issue with the towers.
So if it's a capacity issue, your your poles, do they connect
It
to
would-
the big
It
tower?
would be a totally separate net, like same network, but different radios. So it would add capacity to the town.
Oh, that's interesting because, so it's not just another antenna that gives you better service to get to the big antenna,
Nope,
the big tower.
totally separate.
No, then that's a home run.
How many connections can you support, Dwayne?
What was that? Sorry?
How many connections can you support at one time?
What do you mean connect, like cell phone connections?
Yeah,
I don't know that off my top of my head. I mean, we'd have to ask AT&T or Verizon. So
I mean,
we only supply the pole, but we know the contacts at AT&T and Verizon or T-Mobile that we can get them working with the town to actually start doing like RF studies to figure out where it would be best placed and if that parking lot that Marcos and Sandra proposed, if that would be ideal for the town.
right. I know that there was a study done by the town that the village was part of. I never got a report on it about self-service reception and where the holes were and where the holes weren't, and I asked them to do not only coverage but capacity. And I don't know if that study was even ever completed. But I think that having that information would make it much easier. I think there are places in the village where we probably would need to add capacity or where there may be no capacity now. And I think that frankly, rather than just looking at the parking lot to cover the commercial core, I think there are probably other spots in the village that would be, better candidates because they have no coverage. I know
Yes.
one guy who had a fire at his house and was not able to call it in.
What are the proposed locations of this?
So
And I'm
it
wondering,
was honestly, it was kind of, we were just working to try to propose just a design and then show it somewhere in your town. Originally, we had done a few photo sims. I'd have to dig them up and I could send them over to Marcos and he could share that. He may even have them as well, where we did some on the sides of streets. Now, RayCap, we don't just do regular poles. We can do a highly decorative pole that is fluted, could have a decorative base on it to match what you have in your town. So there are just many different options that we could come across and supply to you guys.
and how big is the enclosure at the top of the pole, the dimensions of that?
So if you put 4G and 5G in there, it's that Q-tip looking thing, the radome at the top would probably be about 22 inches in diameter. And then it's probably about 4 feet tall.
Rose,
Is there any,
sorry, what we were
is
thinking,
there any place where we could see one? Is there
Yeah, we
any
can-
place nearby where they're installed that we could actually view them?
On Long Island,
Yeah.
we may have a couple there. But I can definitely, I'll try to dig into that and get back to you. I'll get back to Marcos.
Sandra, did you have something?
yeah, what we were trying to look at is trying to get not the main streets to have the big poles. That's why we were saying park lots or side streets. But we can always go to RayCap and they can give us a design. That was like our first thought. We don't want big ugly poles in the middle of Main Street or Newtown. So maybe in the parking lot. That was the idea behind doing the parking lots. But we
That's
can
good.
we can get the study of where it's needed and then we can go from there.
So I
Yeah,
have another.
think that we're
Go ahead.
all sensitive to what things look like when it comes to poles in the village.
Exactly.
Dwayne, I have another question. If we put that pole in our parking lot and then there's buildings in front of that pole, is this line of sight only?
So 5G is line of sight.
Okay.
Really, I mean, the 5G won't go through buildings, but it'll have very little impact on the 4G. It's really the 5G that has an impact on it.
Okay, so, and the 4G, what's the purpose of having both? If you have a phone that's only, do they make phones that are only 5G now, or is it?
No, it's just 5G is just faster,
Okay,
just much
So-
faster. So
for our application, if we had the building, so it would be better to have the 4G and the 5G.
it would be depending on the location though.
Okay,
It really, I mean, that's really the main, you just want to, Verizon, whoever the carrier would be, would want to look at the location to see if 5G would be an actual viable candidate in that location.
okay. I think it's a great idea. I'm really happy to hear that it has its own capacity, that it's not just an antenna to get you to the big tower, which in my opinion, wouldn't really help anything. So this is a terrific solution. And Sandra and I talked about this, and Sandra, I have to thank you for thinking outside the box. I mean, this is just a great idea. You don't do it anywhere on Long Island, so this would be one of the first places on Long Island to do it. Dwayne?
It would definitely be one of the smaller towns that we've worked with.
Okay.
I think we may have done a couple closer to the city, but nothing out that far.
Yeah, so the biggest complaint we have out here is, one of the biggest complaints is cell service, obviously. So, and then no one really wants, when every time, a location for a cell tower is proposed, then nobody wants it near their home, which I understand. Sure. But the only way you're going to solve this problem is either to put up more towers, or maybe this is a solution that can really help go a long way and not be so intrusive. I mean, starting with the parking lots, I think is a great idea, because the poles that you showed us aren't much different from the poles that are currently there. So
exactly,
it looks good. It looks good. I'm really excited about it. I think I'd like to move forward with this as, to the next step.
I've got a couple questions. And first of all, I really support this idea. We really do need to increase the cell coverage in the village. It's horrible. And I think it's a great move forward, especially on the side streets too. I mean, anywhere where there's a area to do this, I'd like to go forward with that. Question number one is that most of the coverage is AT&T, Verizon, T-Mobile. I think those are the top three. AT&T and Verizon probably being our two biggest carriers around here. You're saying is that basically your company builds the shell, and then AT&T and Verizon and whoever the carrier might be, they actually supply the guts or the terminal inside the shell. Is that correct?
Correct. Yeah, they would supply the radios and everything inside the radios and antennas.
Correct. And the next question is that, from my understanding, they pay for this. Like, is this something we would have to pay for? Because if you own a building somewhere and you want to put a cell tower on it, they pay you. So, does AT&T and Verizon, or God knows whoever, do they fund this or to have their towers up?
So it all depends. I mean, it's one of those things. And a lot of times they will pay for it. A lot of times a town will pay for it and then lease the space to AT&T or Verizon. Sometimes you get a neutral host like Crown Castle or Extenet, and they will build and then install Verizon and AT&T's equipment in there, and then they basically they buy everything and they charge AT&T and Verizon a lease charge.
Okay. Another question is that, do they all have to be vertical? For example, your encasements are very interesting. Could they be horizontal and tucked away in places where they might not be seen? For example, on eaves of store roofs, or alternate options that I don't even know about yet, but do they have to be vertical?
No, that's a great question. And we do make concealments for the side of buildings. And Gordon and I can send you some snapshots of that as well. And we have in our Charleston facility, we have a full artist division where they hand paint, brick and stucco and everything else. So if you were to put a box on the side of a building, it could basically be fully enclosed. All the antennas would be enclosed, and then it would look like the building. So those
Right.
are options as well. I just don't know what buildings and what locations. Again, that's something that where we would need an RF study done on for the.
Well, I think that's really interesting because many of us know that, our Presbyterian church has cell receptacles in the church, and you can't even see it because it's basically built in. And that's not brand new, where now our service is I say it's at a critical point. I mean, we cannot use our phones in the summer, and
Sure. And honestly, the company that finding alternate options where they can be built in. They look like the building, they look like this. Maybe those buildings could get some type of rent, or I don't know how they make money, but it seems like a very, it seems like a great way to go. What are the range of these? So as the mayor mentioned, 5G or 4G needs to be direct inline contact, but the other one doesn't. But how far away, for example, if we had a plan to go down streets and try to, get the coverage better everywhere, how far away do these have to be to work correctly? So 5G radios, it's typically about Gordon was about a quarter mile max on the 5Gs.
Yeah, I would say no more than a quarter mile for effective coverage on 5G.
All right.
So if you were going down your main street, I don't know how long it is there, but you would need a few poles down there for the 5G radios to actually work well. But as far as 4G, it's a lot different. 4G, obviously, there's cell towers and it's propagating into your neighborhood. So that just goes on and on without line of sight. So,
excuse me for my ignorance, but is there 6G? Like, if we go forward with this, is there room in your capsule for more or for new technology? I mean, I don't want to install 4G and then the next year 6G comes out, or you know what I'm trying to say.
I can pretty much guarantee you, and Gordon can attest to this, 6G is not coming out anytime soon.
Okay.
It's definitely not. There was just an FCC auction back in February, and it's called C-band sub-6 frequencies, and that is something that could be added. It's really the sweet spot in between 4G and 5G. So it propagates a lot better than 5G, but it's a lot stronger than 4G. So, and those radios, depending on what AT&T, Verizon, or T-Mobile wanted to do, we could configure it so those radios would be able to fit inside.
Great. I love this idea, especially with the technology of making them look like they don't exist. A quarter mile. I mean, if you could go, down Main Street, Newtown Lane, up through, a lot of these areas, as long as you couldn't see them, I think it's an amazing idea, and doesn't seem like it costs much money at the same time. So I love this idea.
So I have to run. I have another meeting, and it was supposed to be at 12. It got bumped up. But what I would propose to do, it would be at some point to at least Gordon and I can get out to the town and kind of just take a look and maybe talk to some of our Verizon and AT&T contacts and T-Mobile. I'm actually meeting with the T-Mobile guy as soon as I get out of here, and just kind of see what exactly the town looks like and where we could look at some of the buildings if we were going to do some side mounted boxes on some of the buildings as well.
All right, Dwayne, I got one quick question before you go.
Sure.
Is there any availability to put Wi-Fi into these, to distribute Wi-Fi?
You could. Yep.
Okay.
We basically, RayCap is a fully custom shop. So we have the ability in our factory in Charleston to produce about 1,000 poles a month if needed. We're not nearly there yet, but we do fully custom designs where whether it's a topper, we can make mounts on the side of the pole for Wi-Fi and enclose that in a little box, or it all depends on exactly what you guys are looking for.
Okay, terrific.
Yeah.
All right,
So
anyone else?
I'll be in touch with Marcos, and then we'll provide some other photo sims on some of the other polls that we've done, and I'll try to get you some addresses of some of the other polls on Long Island, and maybe some concealments.
Would you be able to give us like a model of what one would actually look like? Would you be able to put one up so that we could be able to see it in one of the parking lots, perhaps? Because, to everyone's point, we all know we need better cell service. I think we're 110% behind that. But finding it so that it's, not aesthetically obtrusive in any way is a concern of ours as well. I don't know how high the pole has to be in order for you to have the most effective service, but I know that the enclosure now is roughly 2 by 4 feet, which, is substantial. And, I liked the idea of concealing it in some way. If we could run it horizontally instead of vertically somewhere, I thought that was a good idea. So I think, I'd be interested to know exactly where, you think best would be to put them and how many we would need.
Okay. All right. Sounds
Thanks,
good.
Dwayne. I
Yeah,
appreciate it.
Thanks for coming on, Gordo. Thanks.
No problem.
Mayor, could I move up Charles Ferrazza for the Herrick Park bathrooms? Because I know he's got a hard out at noon.
Yeah,
Thank you.
that's fine. That's fine,
Charles?
Mark.
Good afternoon, everybody. How's it going?
Good. How are you, Charles?
All right. So I had met with Marcus and Vincent to review the scope of work for the Herrick Park bathrooms. I also visited the site and walked the facility with Fred and got a good understanding of what the village is looking for to try and rehabilitate the structure, both for updating it regarding fixtures, as well as trying to make this as maintenance-free, I guess you could say, as possible. We were also discussing the types of fixtures as well as ADA compliance to try and bring as much of that up to the newer standards as possible. We discussed schedule presentation for the schematic design and scope of work, which is completely doable as far as our firm is concerned, as well as getting the documentation ready and prepared for bidders so that that can go on time to facilitate a start for the contractor in enough time to have the project done, hopefully by May. That's basically where we left off. And, we would enjoy working with you guys to accomplish the renovation of the facility, especially that we work here locally in the village. It would be a great thing for us to do for you guys as well.
Thanks, Charles. I have a couple of questions. The current bathrooms as they are now are not only disgusting, but they're very poorly done. So the concrete walls, the metal fixtures. With your plan, are we getting rid of the prison look and make it more like a?
That's what we're hoping to do. Yeah, that's what we're hoping to do.
I went and looked at Southampton Villages. Have you been over there to see their?
No, I haven't actually. I'll definitely take a ride over there and check that out.
At the end of Job's Lane, right by their park, they have very nice men's room, ladies' room there, and they even use the porcelain fixtures and things like that, and it's tiled. I mean, it really looks well done. So I mean, we can certainly. I really want to get away from that. I said it already. The prison look. No,
I understand completely. Yes.
Yeah, I mean, you even airport bathrooms look better than that. So
absolutely.
So I really want it. I don't like the concrete look. I don't like the metal. So if you can help with that, that'll be great.
Yeah, no, I'm sure we can do a lot better than what's there now. That's for sure.
That was thrown together in 5 minutes, I think. But does anybody have any comments?
No, I'm really.
Are we contemplating a total reconstruction? A whole new building?
I think the bid was just for, it's not structural, right, Charles?
That's correct. This is just for basically cosmetically rehabilitating the building, changing the roof shingles that are worn, modifying any of the exterior. I believe we were going to also change the gable windows that are there that are constantly getting damaged by balls and stuff from the field to more of a timber type structure, so that this way we would not have to deal with the broken glass continually. but still keep the same aesthetic. So that's what we're looking to do. We're looking to actually refinish the bathrooms, put new fixtures in, redo the flooring, the walls. And like I said, I really want to make sure that I work together with the village and make it as up to date ADA wise as possible.
And also in the age of COVID, we want contactless,
Correct.
thanks and all that.
I was just going to say the touchless, any
That's
kind
right.
of feature that
That's
we
right.
could use touchless would be great. And I'm really excited because they're in desperate need of renovation. So the roof line will stay the same, Charles. It's just cosmetic, and you will change the windows.
That's correct.
And it will still be the rounded gambrel style, and you'll just use a different glass, or is it going to be eliminated?
I think we're going to try and eliminate it. That was the discussion. But if we can find a glass that can be inserted in there so it can be a window, I'm sure we can. It just, there's a cost associated with that. So we can get options for that as we go through the bid process.
Great. Thank you.
All right, I guess there's no other questions, so thanks, Charles.
You're welcome.
Marcos?
All right, now we get to Mike Bowker. Sorry, Mike. Bumped him twice.
Hey, no problem, guys. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes, Mike.
Let me get the video going. Sorry, I'm stealing Dave's computer. I'm still having some technical issues with mine. How's everyone today? Doing good?
All good, Mike.
Just real quick, this is my annual stormwater. I have to go through this with the public and with you folks to keep you updated. It's part of the permit process. Real quick, MS4 is our municipal stormwater, and that affects Georgica Cove at the intersection of Cove Hollow and Georgica Road. We're in our 13th year of this program. We started our 14th year. We're in the maintenance phase. The program's completed. We've done our DEC approved work, and now we're just taking care of the infrastructure that we have installed. To that point, I want to say thank you. The street sweeper you got us last year was a big help, pretty key to keeping those structures clean and maintained. Makes it a lot easier to change the filters that are in the drains along the way. I'm speaking with Dave real quick. One of the things we're going to look forward to do the rest of the year for the program is needs time for a review. So we'll do that, and we'll get that information to you folks when it's done. It has been updated in quite some time. And pretty much that's it. Not a lot to talk about. Sorry. The only thing we got going on the burn right now is I know Billy's working with the town and Kim over at Natural Resources for a big project for the Cove Hollow pipe. I think we're some ways out for that, and that would do a lot to address the pathogen issue we've been dealing with for the past few years. So that's all I have. And anyone any questions?
Nope. Thanks for keeping it short, Mike.
Well, I'll try to. The exciting world of stormwater. Thanks, guys. Talk to you next year.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
All right, Marcos, next up.
That's it. It's just the resolution. Oh, no, I'm sorry. The sea spray management. I think there was interest midsummer to see that if we wanted to put an RFP out for the management of the sea spray. I think there were a couple comments being made that whether, that's not our business in a sense, the landlording business. So I didn't know if the board wanted to discuss that and see if they wanted to have a RFP put out to have a proper real estate management company take over the sea spray.
Yeah, I when Chris brought this idea up a while ago, I just thought it had a lot of good points and a lot of, I couldn't find anything negative with it. So how does the board feel?
I agree with it too. I think we shouldn't be in the real estate business, being landlords. So I think Chris' idea was great.
Marcos, when are the leases up? Do you have any information on that? Because I know last time I asked, you were still looking into it.
Yeah, they're kind of staggered. I think a couple of people are re-upping. I think we've got just noticed yesterday that somebody might be moving out early. So it's kind of all over the place, Chris. Maximum of 18 months though.
Is there a way, even if we do something or if we don't do something, to possibly keep these on a 1-year basis, just so we have the ability to change gears if we ever wanted to? I mean, for example, if we did decide to entertain some type of real estate management option, I don't think they would want the leases in place. You know, because I would think they would, again, they would potentially want to fix and update and renovate, where, if there was a lease in place that might not be so attractive to them. Again, I'm not sure, but, as a quick review, we do spend a lot of time and energy on those cottages, and they're really falling down. Well, we've gotten really lucky. I know that there was a tour of these cottages last year that we all went on, and I honestly, I was it was worse than I expected, to be honest with you. So, we have an issue here that if we continue to put it off, it's going to even be worse. And I'm not saying we're putting it off, because I know we talked about it in the summer. They rented out, and we had a very successful summer with them with very little problems. But as you know, these small beach cottages get eroded from the weather and wear and tear from being so close to the ocean, that, I don't want to have what we're having the problem with the fire trucks. I don't want to have that problem with the sea spray cottages. I mean, a really bad storm or a very light hurricane could really impact them, because they're not kept very well. And so, I do think that we need some type of plan with these cottages. I don't say we have to address it right now, but I would just like us all to remember not to forget about these cottages, because it's going to be a problem.
Marcos, what are the economics of, because we get about $1.5 million a year in rent. I don't know what our expenses are for running them. What would be the economics to the village? Obviously, we wouldn't be receiving the rentals directly from the tenants. Obviously, we would also be receiving money from the managing agent. What does that look like?
That's a good question, Tiger. And really, I'd rather kind of frame that before we put the RFP together. We get about 1.2 million from them, but there's risk associated. If like, for example, if the person that I think we think moved out yesterday, if we don't book that cottage, let's say for next year, that's $100,000 hit. That again is at risk, and that's not good to budget for. So I think it might look like a RFP being put out where the costs that are kind of spread all over the place, in a sense, not all of the costs are put in our budget under the sea spray line, because it's tough. We've never wanted, we put some of them there, but not all of them, Tiger. Like there's hidden costs. Our handyman, for example, that has spent a lot of the summer fixing stuff, that should be really been put under there. And I think we actually did that this year, but we can go through what the costs are, but it's going to be 1.2 subtracted by, I don't know. It could be
ballpark, Marcos?
120.
120.
Yeah, in terms of salaries, equipment. I know we replaced about 6 AC units there, or I know we did work on 2 and a couple of replacements, but it's just constant work up there. So
I'd also like to add, Marcos, that the money that we've spent in the past year at Sea Spray, whether it be through the handyman, taking resources away from DPW or from Fred or from wherever, the beach, we're taking resources from other places that really can't be accounted for properly, because it's hard to say, all right, send Jamie over there, send Fred over there. And it's a lot of work, and it's not really so much being allocated towards the Sea Spray, first of all. And the second of all, we didn't replace anything last year. So again, let's just say, Tiger, to answer your question, let's just say, to round the numbers off, we brought in $1.1 million and we spent 100,000. So we netted $1 million. Well, we have to replace roofs and plumbing and major utilities eventually, which when we address it, now that $1 million turns into a lot lower of a number, versus a potential structured idea where a management company could go in there, let's just say, and give us that $1.1 million or whatever the number is. It goes out to bid, we increase it, who knows what it is. And they have to deal with all of the repairs, and we get our $1.1 million and walk away. And, you know, they manage it. They're the super. When the tenants have problems, they call them, they don't call us. And, you know, it not only would we get our $1.1 million, but we would also not have to put any money into them. And I think the trade-off would be allowing this management company to have a certain amount of leasing right, you know, like they'd want a 20-year lease or a who knows what, where they could at least recoup their investment by renovating these cottages to the standard of which they feel like they're going to collect their rents for, and us just wiping our hands clean of the, you know, potential replacement and constant fixing up of these cottages. So that was my overall idea. And again, it's no more substantial than that. I know there's a lot of questions to be answered, but that's really it.
Yeah, I don't really have a problem with this conceptually. I own a rental house that I rent. The company that manages the rentals for me and the cleaning and all that stuff, they take 35% off the top. All right. If we were going to be having people do repairs as well as management, I am pretty sure they're going to take a lot more than 35%. I mean, I'm not saying that we shouldn't do this. I think in many ways, you know, that's not our business, and other people can manage it better. I think they would undoubtedly want to be raising the prices that they get for rent. And to the extent that they can do that and pass along through to us, that'd be fine. But maybe we should think a little bit more about what the RFP should say. I mean, do we want to give them full control and we just get a check? Or do we want them to manage the operation, but we are more financially involved? I mean, I don't know what the best way to do this is. One of the advantages to having a company do the repairs is it wouldn't have to be prevailing wage work.
Yeah, Tiger, I agree with you 100%. And I also agree that, you know, if let's say some company wants to renovate, they're renovating our buildings, you know, and in 20 years or whatever the year payout is, that, you know, we get them back. And if there's a company out there, maybe no one wants to do this because they're in that much disrepair, but if someone's out there that's willing to do that, I mean, they charge whatever they want to charge. I mean, again, they're signing a contract with us or the village saying that they're going to give us the $1.1 million or whatever that number is every year, guaranteed. Maybe there could be a, you know, 3 to 5% increase per annual for it to go up, but they can charge what they want. They can do what they want. They renovate to their liking. And, you know, we can wipe our hands clean of having to, you know, having this be a burden.
Right. Well, we would never be able to wipe our hands clean because we still own the buildings.
Well, yeah, but you know what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, I understand what you're saying. We wipe our hands clean of the management. And I think we all agree that that would be a good thing for us to do. But, you know, again, somebody comes in, we give them a 20-year contract, they renovate the cottages, they find out that this is not economic for them, they give them back to us in 20 years, they're going to need to be renovated again. You know, so I don't think this is necessarily a panacea, but I think we should certainly look at this.
You know what, Tiger,
maybe we draft a RFP to see what we think and see what it looks like.
Sure.
I agree.
You want to work on that, Marcos?
Yeah, I do. I kind of want to see, you know, to answer your question, Tiger, I mean, you're right. There has to be a baseline here for the village, and I want it to be long-term. The whole point of this would be so that we budget better, you know, and that there's less risk, you know, to the village. So Yeah, I mean, I'd love to have just a base floor of 1-1-1-2, let's say, with annual increments for 5 years, maybe just to start with a.
Well, let's see what it looks like.
Sounds good.
And then we can decide what we want to do. I think it's a great idea. I know when Chris first brought this up, I think we all kind of were supportive of it. And I think we all kind of still are. So let's see what it looks like.
All right. Is that it? Anybody else? All right, great. So we're going to, now we have one resolution that we need to pass. But before we do that, June, could you just do a roll call for me?
Sure. Mayor Larson,
Here.
Deputy Mayor Chris Minardi.
I'm here.
I can see you all. Trustee Arthur Graham.
I'm not here. This is just a picture.
Okay. Trustee Rose Brown.
Here.
Trustee Sandra Melendez.
Here.
Administrator Marco Belladron.
Here.
Village Attorney Vincent Messina.
Present.
I know Mike Belker was in for Dave. Fire Chief Jerry Terza was here earlier. Fire Marshal Ken Cullum.
Present.
Hi, Ken. Building Inspector Tom Friato.
I'm here.
Billy Hayjack, planner.
Present.
Thank you. And me. That's it.
All right. That's terrific.
And I am here.
So
For
June, could you?
DPW.
Oh, Dave. Okay, sorry.
That's okay.
Thanks, Dave.
I'm here too, Joan.
Oh, got you. Sorry. Chief Tracy.
Could you read the resolution, June?
Absolutely. Accept the $30,000 bid received from Bottas Firenze Architects to provide architectural services for the Herrick Park restroom renovation project as per the October 26, 2021 bid specifications, and approve the payment of the $7,000 retainer as per submitted proposal, and authorization for the mayor to enter into an agreement for same subject to the approval of the village attorney.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, passed and carried. I think that's all we have for today. We're going to go into executive session. We have to talk about some real estate, CPF real estate. And if there's anything to report to the public after that, I'll let you know. I'll come back on. But otherwise, can I get a motion to close?
So move.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, our meeting is closed and we'll see you in executive session.